What's up everybody? Today we've got the new Insta360 X5 as well as a brand new home that just finished construction, and today I'm going to show you how I'm about to do a virtual tour with this home right here. Now full disclosure, this isn't my profession, this is more of a side hustle and a portfolio builder. Fortunate enough to have a friend who builds homes like this and allows me to fly my drones and do all this different stuff. Yeah, sometimes they compensate me too. So I'm going to show you how I'm using the new X5 in order to achieve this, what settings I'm going to be using, and then we'll look at the final product at the very end. Hopefully this helps you out. So I have done this before, and one of the things that I know is that you can never have too many pictures. Better to have more than enough than not enough. The sprinklers just turned on the background. I feel like they're always going around here, so we might have to come back to the spot. At any rate, I always use the app. I like to set my own white balance. Okay, I'm going to take one in HDR at 72 megapixels with a 3-second timer, so I can just shoot it from off to the side. And then I also do one with auto exposure bracketing, which only comes in at 18 megapixels. I've done this before. I don't know if I need the bracketing, but I do it anyway since I'm already here, so that's what we're going to start with. And if anybody wants to guess what the size of this property is and its list price, drop those down in the comments below. I'll let you all know at the very end. So since the sprinklers are on outside, we're going to just start right inside the front door, and then we'll capture that at the very end. So I like to be logged in here. This way I can kind of make sure the camera's in the right position. Right, we're coming right over the threshold for the very first shot, so I'm just going to have this right here. We got a couple different options. Okay, with your auto mode, you can set your white balance. I usually keep it set to 5K, which is great throughout most of the day. If you put a timer here, you can put a timer so it gives you time to run out of the way, or just, you know, make sure that you got some time in between shots. Now up here at the very top, you've got your different choices, okay? 72 megapixels with HDR, which we're gonna want because it's, you know, can be darker inside and not outside. Now if you wanna use auto exposure bracketing here, you can hit that, but you're only gonna get 18 megapixel pictures out of that. I've tried comparing the two. I mean, like, I feel like the quality is good enough, but I do both since I'm already here. So that's what we're gonna do. So what I like to do, right, is I kind of find a place where I'm gonna hide, whether it's, you know, over here behind this wall, and then that way I know I'm not in the shot, and then I can hit the button and take a picture, right? So that's exactly what we're gonna do. Okay, so now it's done doing that. I'm going to come right back up here to where it says 72 megapixels. I'm going to put it here on auto exposure bracketing. Yes, it's going to drop it to 18 megapixels. Once again, I'm just going to hit that, and then I'm going to wait. This one takes a little bit longer, maybe about 60 seconds for it to do the picture and put them all together. And now all I'm going to do is just rinse and repeat throughout the entire house. Right? I usually put this in the center of the rooms. It's going to be different once we get into some of the hallways. Keep in mind that there would be a stitch line over the center of the camera, so you might need to be a little more mindful when you're orienting it, making sure that the lenses that face forwards and backwards are pointed in the best direction that you feel is suitable for the room that you're trying to capture. Now I feel like this part right here is kind of interesting. We've got a bathroom over here, we've got a closet over here, and then we've got an exterior entry out to the backyard. I don't know if this is like a first floor master or a guest room or like the maid's room, but at any rate, it's like, which way do I want to orient this? So I'm actually going to put this on a diagonal, so that way we can kind of look and see the bathroom here without the stitch line hitting these two walls, which aren't really important, but then you can also see the closet and then also see that it kind of leads outside. Obviously we'll do a shot out there as well. Guys, we are almost finished. This house is so freaking huge. When I tell you this thing is a monster, look at it. That's the master bedroom behind me. You gotta wait to see all the photos. That's the master area. Here's the master closet for her and for him. So like I said, if you wanna make a guess on what the square footage and the price tag is for this house, drop that down in the comments below. All right, so I'm all wrapped up here. I've been here for more than an hour because they're shooting both types of HDR, the 72 megapixel and then the bracketed one. So we're gonna see which ones look better, if at all, because there's still a learning curve. But man, this house, massive. And I took plenty of pictures, like I said. Sprinklers eventually stopped, like I said. Got the front, we're good to go. We are ready to head home, and then we're gonna jump right into editing and take a look at all these pictures. So we're gonna hop into the computer now so I can show you how to stitch everything together using Insta360 or maybe an additional program. Now keep in mind, this is a huge property, and I shot in a couple different ways, right? I was doing a single HDR photo, a one and done that was stitched in the camera, gave me a file. I could just take it out, maybe do some basic color correction or something like that, and then it would be ready to use. I was also shooting in RAW, so I'm getting a RAW file for every picture that I take, and then we were doing bracketed, auto exposure bracketing photos, so I was getting blocks of 7, right, that come with that too, okay? So you're gonna see a ton of files as we look at this. So what you wanna do is you're gonna transfer everything off of the SD card, and maybe you're going to have some file structure right here. Okay, so this was the Half Mile V2 property for me because it's the second property on the lot that I've been working with them on. So I have some behind the scenes footage, which you've already seen thus far up to this point. Then you're probably going to want to have a folder that's going to have all of the raw files, raw using that loosely, everything would you pulled off of the SD card. And then you might want to have something that either says stitches or exports. It's totally up to you on how you like your file naming structure, okay? At any rate, when we come into the raw folder here, yeah, we're going to come back to the whole rename. What we'll probably see is you're going to see it looks all like this, right? And they're all numbered and labeled and crazy all the way down. And you're going to have all of your DNGs and your INSPs here, okay? So if you want to separate these easily, you can just by kind. Yeah, and that'll separate the two. So I want to show you what the size difference is between the DNGs versus the INSVs, okay? So if we scroll all the way down, okay, all the DNG photos, all the raw files, raw photos for this property here, let's scroll just a little bit, and if we highlight them all, you're going to see it was almost 27.5 gigabytes of footage, storage, photos, okay? So if you're tight on storage, which it always seems to be a problem, maybe RAW is not right for you. Likewise, if we were just to take all of the INSP files, the exact same ones, but just Insta360 files, instead would only have been 8 gigabytes, okay? So about 3.5 times roughly, give or take, okay? Don't quote my math in size if you're just gonna do a simple one and done picture versus trying to work with raw files, okay? So it's totally up to you. Now I wanna also point something else out here with the naming structure, okay? So if you look at this first one, it's 14, okay, well, this is easy. 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, great. But what's going to be more important here is if you look at this, before this, the 140832, and then it goes to an 859, 859, 859. So what this tells me is that this was a single one and done picture. This one down here, the 859, look at this, it's actually going to go down 7 times. 859, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is our block of 7 right here. This is our bracketed photo, okay? And then it goes down to 442, 519. Those were one and done pictures. And then it goes back down here, 547, 547, 547, okay? So if I were just to mark these just as a quick standout, okay, you would notice that these are one and done pictures versus this block of 7 right here, which is within the 859, and then this next block of 7 which is 547 all the way down to here, okay? So it's important that you have the DNGs and the INSP files in the exact same folder, because if you're going to try and work with the DNGs and take them into Insta360, it actually won't recognize them as a bracketed photo and stitch it for you. I've learned this the hard way. But let's just take this block of 7 right here. So you can easily drag and drop it if you want to, or you could click on where it says open files. Okay, it's going to scan it, and then it's going to give you a single file right here, okay? And if you want to change some of the different thumbnail views right here, you can do that. Hold on, there's a helicopter flying overhead. And we're back, okay, but you can see right down here, here are all the 7 photos, and if you wanted to click on each one, you could see what each one looks like as far as the exposure is concerned. Yes, or this is going to be the main one. And then, of course, it is 360, so you'll be able to spin it around and take a look, okay? Now, when you're working with a raw file, Insta360 will allow you to stitch this and export it, but it's not going to allow you to do any color corrections. You're going to need to do that in a secondary program, whether that is Lightroom or Photoshop or what have you. Or, and I learned this from Best 360, there is a program here called Affinity Designer, which sells a license, lifetime license. Okay, so if I'm on Mac, well, it does Mac or Windows, it's $70. So it's a one-time payment for a program that you can drop the 7 files right into. It's going to stitch everything, and in that exact same program, you can do all of your color correction. And they've already got a one-tap button that'll do all of it for you quickly and easily. So that might be something to consider versus paying for Photoshop and Lightroom, which I do. It's like $15 or $20 a month. So just in 3 months, right, that would offset the cost of this right here. Yeah, and it's going to do that for you. It's just one less step, okay? And it's done forever and you have it, okay? So something to consider. Now, on the other hand, if we come back over here, let's see if we do the exact same one. So 547, and we're going to come down to these, and I'll show you in just a second. 547 is right up here. And I'm going to drag these same one ends, and this is just the bracketed photos, but this is just the Insta360 files, and we drag this in here, right? You're going to get the same image, right? Color's a little bit different, right? This one's a little bit brighter. I don't know why yet, okay? But what it does offer you is the ability to do all of your different color corrections. Okay, it's probably already done, yes. Right, color optimization. Yeah, it's automatically done everything for you. You'll have that. You're just not gonna have, maybe you won't have as much flexibility, but I mean, this looks good. Right? I mean, look at this. We got a nice 360. Look how amazing this house is, too. It's huge. Don't forget to comment down below how big you think this thing is going to be and how much it costs, because it's going to knock your socks off. Okay? So that's your options. You're going to drop them in here, and you'll either come up here, and when you're ready, you can either hit the export button or Command E if you're on a Mac. You're going to want to make sure that you export a 360 photo. It's going to come out as merged, and this one is a DNG. In the media type, you want to make sure it's a merged DNG, not all exposure photos. Otherwise, it's going to export each one independently. We want the merged photo. Okay, so I'm going to take this, and you're going to change where you want it to export, which would probably be right here in exports. Okay, and I'm actually going to empty those out just so we have something simple to work with. Okay, and we are going to export this file. It takes a second, doesn't take very long. Okay, and then this is going to come out, and this is what we got right here. Okay, so it's the exported file. Now we're going to take it into Photoshop or Lightroom, finish our color corrections, and then eventually export it as a JPEG file. Okay, so keep an eye on this, 104 megabytes right there, pretty big file. Now if we take the same picture that we got, and you can also see right here, it's 245 megabytes with just the raw files versus 100 as is with the Insta360 files. If we export this the exact same thing, okay, export 360 photo, it's going to be merged. Now it's going to be coming out as a JPEG. And we just wait a second here, it's going to pop up. Okay, and we have a 7.5 megabyte file. Okay, so if file size is something of importance to you to consider, yeah, you're going to want to consider that. Now, obviously, we could go back here and you could have just dragged and dropped all of these in here, and they're going to pop up just like this. I want to show you one last thing. Okay, so for me, this is really annoying, all of this file naming structure, because if at a later point in time I want to look for my HDR photos and I know I label it as half mile V2 or something, right, these aren't going to come up unless they're in a particular file folder. So I just copied over a few over here, and we're going to separate them. And what you can actually do is, if you wanted to rename them just for easier searchability on your computer, you would need to rename both of them, because remember, these have a synergy between the two, that if you want these to be put into a stitched file, right, you need both the DNG and, more importantly, the INSP file. So the file names are going to have to match as well. You can drop a comment down below if you think this is an unnecessary extra step or what your feelings are, but I would probably do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rename my DNGs first, top to bottom, and you can see I've already done it. It's going to be half mile V2 HDR. Boom, and then that is done. And then I'm going to do my INSP files exactly the same. Okay, and hit rename. Okay, now that they're kind of linked, okay? Now it doesn't matter what 7 were in this and the other 7. If I just take this over here and I drag and drop it in now, you're going to see now I still have my 2 separate files, but they are named slightly different, but you've got the same thing, okay? So you've got this right here. Yes, and this is another nice view. Still works as expected, which is a DNG. And then this is a slightly different image, but I just pulled it over so you can see. And you've got that option here to do that as well. Okay, so if you like renaming, that might be an option for you, just so you have better searchability. So once you've got all of your favorites selected here, you can export them, and you're going to notice that all of the HDR bracketed ones are going to come into these independent folders right here. Yes, and then we're going to actually rename these. And then the fun part is we're actually going to take this and put it into Kuula. I'm going to show you how to actually make a virtual tour with just a few of these while keeping it simple and quite easy, okay? So we're going to hop over here to this website right here, which is Kuula. If you haven't tried this, You can make virtual tours or put 360 videos and files on it. They do have a free version where you can actually test out the functionality. And then if you actually want to be able to do a virtual tour where you're going through space, you can do this. I'm going to show you what I've got so far really quick. Okay, so I did a tour recently for a fitness studio that I teach at here. Okay, and when I'm logged into my account, we can actually go through a virtual tour. So this is what the front of the establishment looks like, and people can kind of see what it looks like. And then you're going to be able to come in and set little hotspots where people can click on it, and they'll be able to jump through space. And you set those, and it's like, okay, great. Here's the front first floor. We're going to work our way up the stairs here. There's the landing. We're at the top. Okay, we want to work our way down the hallway. Right, that's where I'm going to show you exactly how you can do that as well, and then people will be able to zoom in and out. And the best part is that on some of this, yes, you can see I left the tripod right there because I didn't care and it's just this it. I'm going to show you how we can remove the tripod without having to do any Photoshop. You see this one? I've actually restricted the ability to look completely down. The tripod is still there. You just can't see it because who needs to look 100% straight down? Wouldn't that be easy? Let's do that right now. All right, so once you're inside Kuula and we got your own account set up, we're going to click on upload and we're going to create our own tour. Set your tour name. I'm just going to call it half mile for now, right? And we're going to select our images. Yes, so we want a flat image, and I've already done that, which is going to be these ones right here. And I also labeled them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I know what they are. Roadside front door. So this is going to make it a little bit easier when I'm looking at the folders or the photos here as we put them into sequence, okay? And then they're going to upload. Now, something to note with the free plan right here, you're not able to reorganize these images here, which can be a little frustrating when you're trying to mess around. So if you ever need to do that, you can always come through and put a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 to kind of like label them so that it's easier to make your workflow happen once we put the tour together. It's going to make more sense in just a second here, okay? So we're going to click on post. And then what it'll do is it's going to drop you right here, and you're going to be able to now look at what this looks like right here, okay? So we're going to be able to make some different changes, all of this great stuff. So it dropped us right here. You'll notice that it has the thumbnail right here, so if you wanted to look at something else different first, you could point it in whatever direction you want. Click on take a snapshot, and then that will be the new thumbnail that is going to show up once you're doing it. Most likely we're going to want the front of the house to be the very first thing. And then we're also going to talk about the tripod that is underneath, okay, and how to eliminate that so that people can't see it instead of having to use Photoshop, okay? So we have some different stuff that we're going to be able to do here. You can come through, you can change any of the filter intensity, sharpness, right? You've got all of that stuff right here. So the pitch level adjustment is actually going to be this part right here. So I just changed it to 66, which is not bad, but if we kind of change this right here, you can see it'll push you up or down how far you can look. So we might just ramp that back, right? If you don't want to see the shadow, then maybe you want to tilt it back a little bit here. And now you're at 48 degrees, and it's not going to be able to see that and look down, but they can look at everywhere else. So that's just a quick and easy way to remove the so-called selfie stick. Obviously, it's not going to remove shadows, especially if that's indoor or outdoor and the lighting and stuff. So it's really up to you how crazy you're going to want to get with this, okay? So that's good. If you want to put any add-ons like text or images, you can do that. And then we're going to be able to add a hotspot, okay? So what do I want my next click for them to be? It's going to be going down the driveway towards the front. Okay, so with this, you can use the slider here to change the size of the hotspot. Yeah, and then that's going to kind of, indicate where they want to click and kind of drive them down the driveway. Yes, you can change the opacity on it. So if you don't want it to be super bright and stand out, you could do that. Right, you have the ability to change rotation on it as well. And then the positioning, like whether you want it to look like it's on the floor, like this. Okay, maybe it's something that's, on the wall a little bit larger. 2D, I haven't tried that one. Scale on zoom. Ooh, I don't know what that one is, but probably I just leave it like this. That way it kind of like stands out right there. And then I don't remember what this little thing is right now, but maybe it'll come to me in a minute. Okay, and then the action is going to be the next thing. Okay, so the action is going to be what's going to happen, right? We're going to go to another post, okay? So we want it to go to the next image, whatever that is going to be. And we're going to select that. These are all going to pop up right here, which is why I labeled it. So we're going to come from the street right to the front door, and that's where it's going to go. You can change some of the animations like bounce, pulse, and wave. You can just tinker with all of this on the on your own, right? And then when you're done with that and you think that's good, you can click save. and then we're ready to move to the next part, okay? So then we'll click on this next image, which is the front door, right? We're gonna zoom out, and we can see what everything looks like right here. It looks fantastic, by the way. Yes, once again, if I was feeling uppity about it, right, I might remove the shadow or something, but instead, why not just make it a little bit easier, and we're gonna change what the pitch is. So maybe I'm gonna look down first, and then this way, as I slide the pitch limit, yes, that's gonna help push it and nudge it up. So let's see what happens here. Oh, it's because I'm zoomed out, right? Right, there we go. The more I zoom out, the more I can look down. So the pitch limit might be right around there if someone's going really wide, but if they were zoomed in, right, that's gonna change. But if they pull out, right, they're not gonna be able to see that there, okay? Once again, right, I wanna be able to dictate where they can go next, and should they be able to go forwards and backwards. So maybe I wanna zoom back just a little bit so they can see what this thumbnail looks like, and let's see, where is that at? That's up here. The snapshot, I want it just to be a little bit wider. Yeah, then we're gonna add a couple hotspots, okay? We have the last one, the opacity was turned down a little bit, and the width was a little bit smaller. I want them to know that they can go through the front door right here. So we're gonna set this, right? And remember, what is the action that's gonna happen for this particular hotspot? It's gonna take them inside of the house, okay? So now I know that this picture right here is gonna be going inside of the house, okay? So we'll save that. And then we're gonna go back to the photo, okay? And you want them to have the ability to go back to the curbside, right? Without having to click this image, because they wouldn't be able to. So we're gonna add one more hotspot up here. Click the hotspot, and we're just gonna put that right there back at the end of the driveway. Yes, and we wanna set the action. The action is going back to another post or whatever that image is, which is right here. Okay, great. So then we're gonna save that. And then you get the process. I'll do one more with you, and then I'm gonna wrap all of this up. So then we'll go to this third picture, which is us right inside of the house. I'm gonna back up, and I'm actually gonna open it up, and I want this to be the first thing that they see when they click on that hotspot from the previous one. So that's my snapshot. Yes, the hotspot is for right now. We need to set a couple of them, right? We wanna be able to go back outside to the front. So we might have a hotspot right here in front of the driveway. The action for that one is to go back outside to this location right here. Boom, we're going to save that. And then there is going to be another hotspot right here in the main living room. And then there's also one that's gonna be here for this location, which is this entry area. So I'll come back up and hotspot, put one over here. Maybe I'll make the width just a little bit smaller, drop the opacity a hair. Yes, and then we set the action. Once again, going over to this location, save it, and so on. Okay, so once I get done with these other two, we're gonna come back and we're gonna take a little virtual tour. So the one thing I forgot was actually the direction that it actually looks when they go in there, okay? And that is this heading right here, okay? So when it comes in, if I hit initial and I hit save, okay, we leave and then we come back, it's looking out the window, okay? I don't want that. Remember, we turned it around and I want it to like see the front entry, just like they came through the front door. So you're gonna set it up, right? You're gonna hit current. It doesn't change the field of view, but as long as I save this, right, we're gonna go away, we'll come back. Now it's facing forward, okay? Maybe when they walk in, I want them to look over here into this area instead, and that's what this is. This is gonna be the heading for when they enter a particular room. What is the first thing that they look at, or you want them to look at when we get there, okay? So we're almost there, and actually I did wrap this up for the most part, so we're going to reset the heading here. That's good. The photo, we're gonna come back, current, save, and then we moved into this last section here, which is the kitchen, and is this where I want them to look when they see the kitchen right away? Do I want them to see, you know, the main living room? I think that's what I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna set my heading to the kitchen, like in this orientation right here. That will be my current, that's gonna be my snapshot. We're gonna save that. And now we're ready to do the virtual tour. Once we got everything set up, now we can actually do the virtual tour. So when you're done with all of your edits, you can come experience and test it out. Now remember, on a free plan, you can only experience the virtual tour while you're logged into your account. You can share it, you can embed it, but really they're just gonna be able to jump from picture to picture by selecting it down here at the bottom. They're not gonna get this nice like time warp action unless you do the paid thing, okay? So we still have all of the 360 functionality, yes, and we're kind of like looking around like, oh my God, this is a beautiful area. Yeah, a bunch of huge homes, bunch of rich people. All right, we have the tilt here. We could turn the tilt a little bit higher so that people can't see the bottom here if we want to edit that. But let's just focus on the virtual tour because that's what's most important. So like, oh, what is this little hotspot? You're going to click on this. This is going to take you to the front door. You might be like, that's a little too big. So maybe we zoom back for something a little bit wider. Right now we can't see the bottom because we fixed that, but they're taking in a nice wide view. We're looking at the house. Oh, it looks like we got a little entryway into the mudroom, 3-car garage, really long driveway, lots of property. We got some stuff happening over here. Oh, let's go inside of the house now. You click this hotspot, it's going to bring you in. Once again, they can look left and right, up and down, right? And if we do it just right, you won't be able to see the tripod on the bottom. Now we can always remove that with Photoshop if we want to, but it's totally up to you, right? And you're just going to build out your big virtual tour, and maybe they want to hop over here and see what this perspective is like, right, from this little side room in the entryway when you come in. And then last but not least, they can always jump over here to this hotspot, which is a little farther away, but this will take them into the kitchen area, right? And they can take a look at the kitchen. We've got a huge pantry. We've got a butler's pantry over here. We've got the upstairs as well. We got some amazing lights at the top right here, a huge office. And then because it is HDR, that's pretty amazing. You can see outside, right? We've got a pool. We've got way more yard out here, right? And then if we want to work our way back, right, that's why we're putting in all these different hotspots so that they can hop in and out and around throughout the entire property and move. And, you know, that just makes it really easy and convenient and something that you can sell if you're trying to monetize just like I am. So this is great. And let's just see what Kuula Pro is, because I don't even remember sometimes. Starts at $20 a month. So, you know, I mean, if you can get one customer to book this and you sell them just right and it's done, this could pay for itself for more than a year by having this as you acquire more customers or find ways to monetize having a virtual VR camera, 360 camera like the Insta360 X5. If you waited this long and you're wondering how big this property is and how much it costs, hopefully you drop those comments down below. 11,000 square feet, $7.8 million. It's ridiculous. And this home was huge. 6 bedrooms, 7 full baths, 2 half baths. Okay, huge office area there. You got a first floor suite, whether you want to call that the granny suite or maybe for the maid. You got tons of closet space. They've got a huge loft upstairs. They've got a huge basement area, which would probably be like the entertainment area or whatever, and plenty of deep storage that was unfurnished as well. So hopefully you enjoyed this video on how to use the Insta360 for virtual tours, and maybe you can find a lot of different ways to use this to your advantage. If you have any additional questions, let me know down below. And if you found this helpful, I'd always love it if you give it a thumbs up, dropped a comment, or have you as a subscriber. I'll see you in another video.